Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And this week, we're going to talk about a topic that selfishly I went through. And those that are viewers or listeners of the show would know if you're in the same age range, let's say, as Mr. Biz, you may have gone through this or be considering this as well. And that is the idea of kind of a second career, second life. Our guest this week is Eileen Caroscio. She's a life transition coach and midlife specialist. She's the co-author of Midlife New Life. She co-authored that. She actually was kind enough to send me a copy of it. For those that are watching, you can see. She co-authored with Sandy Demarest and Paul Ward, chipped in on that as well. But she helps people design your life part 2 with a resilience-first approach to purpose, retirement, and reinvention. Thanks again for sending me the book, Eileen. Really appreciate it. And welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invite. I'm glad to be here and glad to chat with you and answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, so looking forward to this. It's funny, I mention this probably too often. It makes it sound a little self-serving, but we often find guests that selfishly, I want to talk to because I went through this. So I had a corporate career for, let's just say 20 plus years. We don't need to get exact, Eileen, okay? And I left the corporate world and took the entrepreneurial leap when I was I guess I was about 44 years old, almost 45 years old. So I kind of lived through some of the things I think that you're helping coach folks through. So that's one of the reasons why I have you on selfishly. But as well, tell us a little before we start diving into some of these things and some of your concepts. Tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. I know before the show, you had mentioned you were a nurse at one point.
Yeah. Actually, Ken, I'm still a nurse.
Okay.
And so just my journey started way back when I was a teenager. And my dad, who I thought was very, very healthy, he died suddenly, had a heart attack. And boy, that was heartbreaking. And I thought, wow, things can happen, things can change suddenly. And then the other thing I thought was, my goodness, I'm so glad that he enjoyed his life. He was a joyful man. And began to think about, like what I wanted to do with my own life as a teenager. I thought maybe I'd be a psychologist, maybe I'd be a journalist, because I was always curious as what motivates people. Why do they choose X, Y, and Z rather than something else? But as I thought about it, I thought, I couldn't save my dad as much as I would have liked to, but maybe I could save someone else's dad. And so I decided, well, I could be a nurse. So I, went and got, my bachelor degree. I became a CPR instructor. I worked on a medical surgical floor, cardiology floor, and I loved it. And I helped, educate people for emergencies. If someone has a heart attack, helping people with their health goals. And then 9/11 happened. So I live, close to Washington, D.C., and that was the Pentagon. And so we started to have people that would come in, and it was more about health. It was more about purpose, meaning, and doing something that was passionate for them and meaningful. So I began to think about that, and we had a lot of conversations with our patients at the time. But it was in the back burner. And then one day I was out in my garden. I don't know how I did it. I fell. I broke my right wrist. It was like hanging limp like this. It was painful. So I had to take care of, I had to, to get treatment for that. And I couldn't work. I couldn't be in the hospital anymore. And so I began to explore how I could help people beyond the health range. And then I discovered coaching. I discovered being a consultant. And I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. So I went to a 2-year coaching program to learn how to do that and added more certifications, still while working in the hospital. And as I eventually started my own company, oh my God, it was like drinking from a fire hose. There were so many things to know. And I'm a planner. I'm a goal planner. I prepare. I'm, organized. I'm resourceful. But even then, a fire hose, so many different hats to wear, so many things to know. And it was overwhelming. And so I have kind of a approach to that, almost burning out, but I I got a mentor to help me, move forward. But I help people in midlife and beyond because those were all the people that I took care of at the hospital. And I don't work anymore at the hospital. I do consulting, health and well-being, and help people with retirement planning. And then my colleague Paul Ward was looking for people to write the book Midlife New Life, and that's how I got into that because that was my area of expertise. So he chose Sandy and I to co-write it, and it was a wonderful experience. We interviewed more than 50 people. We were all equal partners. We got along really well, which was really nice. That doesn't always happen when you have 3 writers and 3 people with different knowledge, experience, and expertise, but we made it work. We were dedicated. We got our book over 40 years, but I mean, it's substantial. I mean, it's like there's a lot in there. But that's kind of like in a nutshell of my journey forward, and it's been wonderful. I really have enjoyed it. I consult with people who are learning or figuring out, what is retirement for them, and then I also work with people that are having things that changes, and they want to move forward with those changes. So I help them with that and develop a new vision and plan.
Interesting. So I was going to ask about that. I'm glad you mentioned, the process of sort of collaborating, because I can't imagine. So I've written a few books myself, but solo. So I'm not answering to anyone, right? It's me. I'm the boss, and I'm, which is good in some ways, and also maybe
Yes.
not so great. But so I was going to ask about that. So I guess as you were talking about it, and you guys figured it out and worked it out. And I don't know, obviously, the ages of all of you guys, but I'm wondering how much that's in the book did you maybe use to help your collaboration to write the book, as far as I don't say midlife, but kind of working through things at that stage of your career. I don't know where they're at in their career, but obviously you had transitioned a little bit from your prior, kind of main thing you were doing. Did you use some of those things? Was it kind of an ironic situation?
So I just want to be clear what you're asking. So you're asking, did our past experiences help with the plan forward? Is that what you're asking?
Well, no, I mean, like some of the things you talk about in the book. Again, I don't know all of your ages, obviously, but I'm wondering if you're all in that that age range, and maybe in transition. Like, there's probably some things in the book that you guys have written about, that you're like, holy crap, we actually use this to collaborate on the book.
Absolutely. Yes. So we're all in the midlife and beyond territory. And just, for clarity, that's, 40 to 60 years of age. It's kind of fluid. It can go up to 75 because it's also a stage. We're living a lot longer, but part of our own experience and a lot of our expertise as coaches and consultants was brought into that. So there's a lot that, we brought into that, along with the experiences, of the people that we interviewed.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, I was just thinking about it as you were answering the question, but I was going to ask about that too. Like I said, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I can't imagine trying to collaborate with a couple of other folks to, like, no, I want to do it this way. No, I want to do it that way. And, kind of working through some of those things. Again, guys, we're talking with Eileen Caroscio. Geez Louise, I practiced it too before we even started. We're going to hit a break here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some of these things about, initially, midlife crisis, right? Some people call it midlife crisis. Eileen talks about using that as creative fuel.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. Guys, I want to dive into this. We talked about a bunch of different things during the first segment, and I want to make sure we cover enough. And again, guys, check out the book, Midlife New Life. I'm holding it up if you're watching. Again, Eileen was a co-author with Sandy Demarest and Paul Ward. She was kind enough to send me an advance copy, and she did mention during the first segment, and I wanted to make sure that I give her the proper props. She said, it's kind of beefy. It's 330 pages, guys, and it's not like big giant font with a bunch of crayon pictures either. Like this is this is meaty stuff. It's good stuff. But I want to talk first, Eileen, about something I mentioned towards the end of the last segment, and that is, I know you kind of frame midlife crisis. People look at that and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm having a midlife crisis," and it's like this terrible, terrible thing, right? And I know that you kind of shapeshift that a little bit into using it in a positive way as creative fuel. What's maybe like if someone's starting to think they're going through that, what's maybe like even one just micro action that you can use to kind of convert some of that turmoil of, oh my gosh, a midlife crisis, into actually positive momentum?
Yeah, I think even before that action is just a mindset to know that, change happens, and we all go through some change. So to really kind of normalize that if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's normal. It's to be expected, and it's a process that you move through. So change happens, and then the adaptation to change is what we call transition. And there's like 3 stages to that. So you have that ending, maybe where maybe the relationship that you are in is changing, or the career that you're in, maybe you're not getting that promotion yet you wanted. Something has ended, and then the next part is what we call the messy middle, and it's hell in the hallway because you don't know whether you're going or are coming, and that's completely normal. And then once you get to the other side, there's the resilience effects. There's like the new beginnings. So the one is the mindset is accepting and acknowledge that, change happens. And the other is a micro action. I like how you frame that because it's a small action that you take. It doesn't have to be, a big step. It's something, it could just be taking a sheet of paper down and saying, okay, there's a lot of changes. What's important to me now? Maybe what's important to me with career? What's important to me with relationship? What's important to me with finance? And it could just be one of those life categories. And like Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You can just take one, tiny step. And maybe, Ken, you're familiar with the Kaizen principle is,
Yep.
small steps, they accumulate. So constant continuous improvement, small steps. So it could be just taking a sheet of paper and writing down what's important to you, and acknowledging that, change happens and you're going to get through it, because you may feel like you're a hot mess, but you're really a pot of possibilities. And that's the fuel that, that out of a star comes, is from the chaos that's going on, because your mind, your brain loves to figure things out and saying, I got this idea. And that's how people, start businesses, with creative ideas, and they connect the dots.
Yeah, I love that, because I think what you had mentioned that accomplishes 2 things. So first of all, again, acknowledgement. You're being self-aware, saying, hey, I'm going through some changes here, right? And I think it's probably a great exercise, because things that may have been important to you 10 years ago now are likely have changed. And I think it's a great exercise to sit down, not only acknowledge it, but actually write them out and really have a visual on it. I don't, not everyone's a visual learner, but I think a lot of people are. And having that written out, I think, would be very powerful for someone to really start to even more so recognize, like, hey, before, running a 3-hour marathon was super important to me. And now I did that. I don't give a crap about that. Now I've got grandkids, or, and I want to be able to spend time with them. So how do I transition career-wise, or whatever you need to because that's a new important. You didn't have grandkids 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So of course that wasn't even on your radar. So I think it's great, be a great exercise for someone in that sort of frame of mind to really recognize some of those things and then start to plan around them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then, you develop your priorities of these things that I think is important. Which one is the most important? And then developing a plan and then your action steps and then your criteria for, was it successful or not? It doesn't have to be, really like hard nose with that, but kind of get an idea of what your expectations are, what are you hoping for, and then continue the loop. Reevaluate it. Okay, maybe it was great, maybe it wasn't. What am I going to do different? So constantly reassessing. It's a loop that you go through.
So there's a lot of people that watch and listen to the show that are entrepreneurs, business owners, et cetera, right? And I know I've worked with a few that have been in this boat, and that is, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner that started a business. And I've got one client that he started his business, he and his wife, they got married when they're 18, started their
Wow.
business from a 1-bedroom apartment at 18 years old. Now he's in his late 50s, wanting to transition away. But that business is his baby. I mean, it's literally like one of his own children because, it's been from 18 to now. He's been doing it for almost 40 years through all the bumps and bruises and things along the way. And he's very successful. But, one of the things we're working through with him is that transition, right? His business has become so much of his personal identity. So I'm sure you've worked with folks like that as well. What are some things that you see with that? And maybe, again, maybe just one or two things that someone can say, hey, how do I start to disentangle that a little bit as I transition into my quote unquote new life?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. So when people come to me, they're often really closely aligned with their work. They are their work. They might be the CEO, but they're looking to retire. So they don't know who there will be in that next life. And they may not have a support network because they're the decision makers in their own company. So they need to look at support network. They need to look at what is important to them in terms of what they like to do, purpose and meaning. So that's, one thing. And then if you want to continue working, and you want to do something different, you might want to talk to a financial planner, because if you want to try some new things, you got new ideas as an entrepreneur, very creative people, and you don't want to lose your profit and loss advantage. But talking to a certified financial planner can help you with that. So you can be creative and to the extent of maybe taking small risks.
Yeah. We started working with him. We created a 5-year plan because he was, when I say he was entangled, he's entangled. In a very good way. And that's a lot of the reasons that the business was so successful. But he was such an integral part of the business. And, one of his exit plans was potentially to sell the business. And I said, James, the business without you is worth maybe half of what you think it is.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to buy the business and you're going to retire, I go, well, I'm not you. I don't have your knowledge base.
Yeah.
Without you, this thing could sink, right? So we started to transition then out over 5 years. So he took one business day a year out. So he was in an office for 4 business days, and he entrusted his GM and COO to make all decisions. There were 3 deal breakers. They could only call him or email him or text him if one of 3 things happened. He created those things, and he wasn't allowed to call into the office. He wasn't allowed to do it. So that's how we started to disentangle him. The second year, it was 2 days, and et cetera, et cetera. And he began to entrust them, which empowered them. It was just worked out beautifully. I'm so happy for them. He's transitioned. He retired the first of this year. And he's super happy. So good stuff. I'm glad it worked out. But that was one example that I thought of as you were talking about that. Guys, we got to hit a break here. But again, Eileen Caroscio, passagewayscoaching.net. You can also get her on LinkedIn, and the book's website is midlifenewlife.net.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right, only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. So I want to jump in last segment here, Eileen. I want to jump in. I know there's something you talk about, and I think it's for those watching a little bit illustrative as well. And those listening and or watching, you probably didn't know that you're going to get a Weird Al Yankovic reference here. But let me explain. So Eileen has something that she calls the accordion approach, hence my crappy Weird Al Yankovic reference. If anyone knows, if you're my age, you know who he is. If you're not, if you're much younger, you're probably like, I don't even know who the heck that guy is. Anyway, so that probably fell on deaf ears. Nonetheless, Eileen, tell us about your accordion approach. What's that look like? What's that? How does that help someone evolve?
Okay, so yeah, one of the things about Midlife and Beyond is that we're very creative, and we have a lot of experience and knowledge, skills. There's a lot to pull from. And when people become entrepreneurs, and my own experience way back 20 years ago is like it's drinking from a fire hose. There's so much coming at you. And when you look at that, how can you approach it so that you can have serenity now? And so I developed what was called the accordion approach. So it's about, the focus is having harmony in your life. And so who's that guy? Forrest Gump. He always says that, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. But I say that entrepreneurial life is like playing an accordion because you get to choose the song and how you play it. And so I use this. I have an accordion. I keep it on my desk to show the flexibility of the accordion and how you can make, music in your own life. And so I have like three things. So keep going, keep growing, and keep glowing. So keep going is, persevere. Persevere will get you there little by little, but, looking at your vision, looking at your why, learning more things, keep going. And then the keep growing is, you try new things out. It's really can be exciting. You got some new ideas. You can try some risk. Not all those risks is going to work out for you, but you're going to get personal and professional lessons. Those are going to help you grow. And then as you become more successful, you might add employees. You might add more contracts. You might have more offerings. So keep, growing. And then the glowing part is when you got your own rhythm, you kind of figure it out. I kind of like, oh, this works. And, you have the push and pull of your personal and professional life, and you get to decide, do you want to have, a work, environment that's, very full. It might work out really well, but then it could be overwhelming and you need to compress it down. You need to compress maybe the workload you have, maybe compress the days that you work, the hours, because your doorway to your office doesn't have to stay open the whole time. Your computer laptop doesn't have to stay open all the time. And so this is kind of a fun way where, you can decide on the music you want. I love this. And people love it because it's flexible, it's fun, it's gentle. It's a good reminder, a metaphor of, having harmony in your life so you balance your personal, professional life. Because when I started, I kind of got burnt out. And even though I'm a planner and I'm a goal person and very focused, it was a lot to know. So those are things that, will help you. And it's a continual loop. You continue to reassess. Hey, how did that go for me? Maybe I need to compress it down. And although I have like an accordion approach, like, okay, you're the champ, you are the champion of weightlifters. What was it, 500 pounds at one point in time. So you can make this your own. You can say, okay, I can use barbells. How much do I want to, lift for my work? How much, should I take off some pounds of that? So you can make it your own. But the idea is to have some type of mental anchor that's going to help you decide, some internal sense of a gauge of like how much time I'm going to give my business, how much time will I give, my family. So anyway, that's a fun thing that I wanted to share with you and your listeners.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I love it, and I love it, and again, very illustrative as well, despite my terrible lead-in joke. So I guess kind of a little bit tangential to that, but also related. As people start to move into, say, as you guys call it, part two, as people start to move into part two, have you seen that are maybe a couple, two, three false beliefs that people bring into that you end up helping them kind of work through, that they're like, hey, I know that part two means X, Y, and Z. And you're like, actually, it doesn't have to be that way.
Mhm. Yeah. So oftentimes people think that it's too late to change. It's too late to start a business. I'm too old. And the reality is that the average age of an entrepreneur is in that midlife range. The most successful ones are like in that range. So we're maybe 45, even older. And the reason is that you have so much knowledge, you have so much experience, you have the connections, you have ability to make decisions more easily. You can see, the future in some ways because you have experience. And so, one thing is, they think you're too old, but wow, you are a cornucopia of things that you can just, throw out, whatever, not throw out, but throw to your,
Mhm.
your goal of where you want to go. The other thing too is, people fear change, and change can be hard, but you can get through it. And there's a lot of like that creative fuel. There's a lot of creativity with that. You keep on asking that same question. Well, how could I do this? And your brain will come up with a lot of, creative ideas. And so embracing change can help you, can kind of change your mindset a little bit, because there's can be more than one right answer, and figure out a way forward. Um, there's a lot of things in midlife and beyond that are exciting, that we can, choose to do or be.
Yeah, for sure. We only got a couple minutes left, but I didn't want to. I don't want to let you out of here without asking you about. I know you emphasize a lot talking about resilience,
Ah,
perseverance, which I'm a huge fan of as well. And I think anyone who's goal oriented thinks that way. However, what about someone who is entering sort of this part two, this midlife sort of bucket of years, and they hear that and they go, I just don't feel like I have that. Maybe I had it when I was younger and I've kind of lost it. I feel like I can't get that zing back to have that resilience, that perseverance. Are there a couple of things that you could recommend for folks to maybe get back some of that juice? If you felt like you had it when you're younger and you kind of lost that steam, is that a situation where it's maybe you're just burnt out in your current career and making a shift will, re-energize you? I mean, what's that look like? And again, we've only got about a minute, but I wanted to make sure we got something in on this.
yeah, yeah. So one of the things is, you take out a piece of paper and write down all of your strengths, because I'm sure that you may think that you can't fill, a yellow sheet, line sheet of, you can. And if you feel like you can't, you ask your friends, your coworkers, because
Mhm.
you have a lot of strengths. And those are the things that you can fall back on is, oh, I'm really good with connecting to people, or I'm really good to explain things that are very complicated. And looking at your strengths, bring them forward, writing them down, refresh your mind of what they are, and then do something fun. Get yourself your juice going with something that you really enjoy. It could be taking a class, but doing something fun that will kind of break up that kind of stiffness of, I don't have the juice anymore. You get your mojo back with doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, Eileen, but I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Ken. I love talking with you. Your show is fun. I know I've asked you some questions before in the past, and I'm so glad to be a guest, and I appreciate our conversation today.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having on. Fantastic show. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Oh, by the way, passagewayscoaching.net. Follow Eileen on LinkedIn as well. And then the book is, the website is midlifenewlife.net as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.